Nick Fuentes, the man who built his brand absolutely torching Israel, has suddenly flipped? While conspiracies have swirled that Mossad killed Charlie Kirk, Nick went live and really started defending Israel. At the very least, was finding every reason to explain why they didn't have a motive. And his audience and I personally couldn't believe it. I was live streaming at the time and I ran a poll, and 75% of my members during the live stream were saying that he has changed. The results said it all. And he started small by smearing the source, Max Blumenthal, a Jewish leftist. Nick framed the whole theory as a lie planted by Blumenthal.
Max Blumenthal seems to be the source of this idea. Max Blumenthal, who is a Jewish leftist who smeared yours truly, created this article with unnamed sources, anonymous sources that create this narrative that Charlie Kirk was on the verge of flipping on Israel and is effectively implying that the donors wanted him dead. That seems to be the insinuation. And they'll run from that and they'll hide from that, but that's obviously the insinuation.
That's not just an insinuation. That is what we've been told from insiders that are close to Charlie Kirk and the family of Erica and Charlie Kirk, and also the people around him. And not to mention, Benjamin Netanyahu offered $150 million for sure that I am aware of. This is so far has been substantiated that he turned down $150 million to shell Israel harder. And imagine what that means. The most up-and-coming Republican RNC person in charge of voter turnout for Donald Trump. That's why Charlie Kirk became so popular and has been supported by the RNC so heavily, is because he was responsible for Trump getting elected, for voter turnout. Look what a job for voter turnout is.
Let's not be obtuse. And to make that case, they told this story about Bill Ackman, which we went over last night, and they insinuated that Charlie Kirk walked away from this meeting with Bill Ackman, a Jewish billionaire, in August, feeling blackmailed, feeling afraid. And we now have receipts and testimony and names about that meeting, but from the pro-Israel side, from Xavier DeRusso, from Bill Ackman, from Seth Dillon. And they all claim that Charlie Kirk arranged that meeting and that it was basically a run-of-the-mill influencer retreat, that Charlie helped organize, plan, set out the invitations. They have the receipts for it. And it blows up. If that was supposed to be a piece of evidence in the Israel conspiracy, the evidence that has been provided by Ackman and the other attendees with receipts, which has not been refuted by Blumenthal or Candace Owens, who promoted the story, it just blows up their narrative. And their response to the receipts has not been to refute one thing that they've said, but to say, well, we never claimed that Charlie Kirk was blackmailed. This was what Blumenthal said tonight. In the original piece, Blumenthal said Charlie felt blackmailed after that meeting where he was screamed at and it seemed like there was an intervention. He was ambushed. Bill Ackman said, no, Charlie organized the event and it was fine. Blumenthal comes out and says, well, what we meant was that Charlie felt morally blackmailed because one of the attendees was mad at him. Okay, so that's pretty disingenuous. I don't trust Max Blumenthal. I do not trust him. I don't trust his father, Sidney Blumenthal. I do not trust this guy. This guy is another Nebish. This guy's a left-wing Jew. And you know who's implicated in this killing? The left. The left, so far, is implicated in the killing. And, you know, for all these people that are hopped up on the Palantir, that sort of thing, look, the radical left still exists. Go to Portland. Go to Seattle. Take it from someone who's been there, done that. I was at Charlottesville. The radical left is real. And no doubt the radical left is deeply in bed with institutional forces to a disturbing degree. But these piece of shit communist progressive types, they are out there.
And if you notice how slick the pivot really is, instead of even entertaining Israel, Nick then points the finger at Palantir, which still sub-Israel identification, right? But it's the radical left and Palantir now. And he paints this picture like Silicon Valley is some meets Antifa operation cooked up by data spooks and communists that are but that's classic Nick. And it's okay, right? But I'm kind of concerned, right? I'm starting to get a little bit of concern from my guy because it seems like a very strong pivot, and you don't want to miss the rest because he really talks so much more about Israel that is in a positive light, or at least in a way that says they have no reason or implication that they could have any reason or will to want to do this to Charlie, when I can think of one very strong one myself, plus many others along the way.
And they are violent, and they do hate you. They do think you're a Nazi. They thought Charlie Kirk was a Nazi. Palantir and the powers that be, they exacerbate these tensions, but they don't create them. They exacerbate tensions between whites and blacks, conservatives and progressives, but they don't create them. They don't create conservatives and progressives. So let us not fall into the trap of locking arms with communists that hate God and hate America and want us dead. Let us not fall into the trap of thinking for 1 second that there is not a radical element in the country that wants you and your family murdered for being basic bitch conservatives, let alone far-right nationalists.
And that's not what Israel wants? Do you not think that there's any difference? Wouldn't you want them? Wouldn't you believe that they want us to be incapacitated, completely dumb, stupid, non-religious? And actually, they're the ones that it seems want people dead. We're not. We're the ones out here calling for peace. But the radical left and also the radical Israel lobby is calling for death. It's very clear.
Do not kid yourself, and don't be suckered into thinking that. I said it last night, we're in a multi-front war, and we're sort of committing the same fallacy. It's sort of like how we used to say, conservatives used to tell us, oh, it's the powers that be that want whites and blacks to fight each other. The rich want whites and blacks to fight. That's like, really? Well, go to the south side of Chicago and tell them that. Tell them that yourself in person. Why don't you get a really nice car? Why don't you get I don't know what cars they're stealing these days.
And it's really interesting how he just completely pivots to the left. Maybe because this is the intro to his show, it's an interesting pivot nonetheless.
A Hellcat. I think those are really popular to steal. Get in a really nice souped up Hellcat, drive to the south side of Chicago, and why don't you tell those black people, hey man, the rich are trying to divide us. You and me, we got to stick together. Similarly, go to Portland and pull up on one of these Antifa communes and tell them, hey man, look, I think Hitler did nothing wrong, but people like us, we got to unite. It's Palantir they'll kill you. So don't kid yourself. And yes, Jewish rightists, Jewish Zionists on the right, yes, they will scaremonger about Antifa to rally us to the side of the pro-Israel right. It doesn't mean that is not a real faction. So the other people that I saw, which was interesting, so I covered this on my show last night, and I saw all the clips on Twitter were getting bombarded by the American Communist Party, which is run by Jackson Hinkle and Infrared Haas, who is some brownoid from Michigan, some mudslime brownoid. And so my posts were being brigaded. They said, oh, you're pro-Israel. You are with the Israelis because you don't. Did you know that after this murder last Wednesday, the American Communist Party wiped its Discord server? I wonder why that is. Could it be that maybe Tyler Robinson and the people he was involved in, maybe they were in the ACP Discord server?
Okay, so he's pivoting now to another party, to a whole nother faction. And that's fine. It's important to check everywhere and wonder about everything. But it's a very dismissive of Israel type of commentary that I'm seeing right now. Like, look at it again.
Could it be that maybe Tyler Robinson and the people he was involved in, maybe they were in the ACP Discord server?
That's kind of like how my mom would have talked to me, like, could it be that you left your socks in your underwear drawer? It's very condescending, no? It's my guy. This is my guy. But look, I'm a fair analyst, all right? I'm a financial analyst. That's what I do. This is what I've been doing before this. So when I look at this, I look at all perspectives. And when I look at this, I see defense. I see something different than what I've seen from Nick. Let's just put it that way.
They were involved in that, John Brown gun club or one of those tranny gun clubs out there in Utah. Now, did Jackson Hinkle's group, did they wipe their Discord out of an abundance of caution? Seems like a guilty conscience, maybe. Seems like they're afraid of what's in there. And if you don't come and say, oh, Israel killed Charlie Kirk, their top goy, if you're not all in on that conspiracy, they say you're a shill. Well, I don't know. It seems like they're trying to save their own asses. I don't think it was Israel this time. I think it was the left. And I think that people like Blumenthal and Jackson Hinkle and others, I think they'd love for you to think this is an Israel operation to divide the right and left because this came from the left. Anyway, I just saw that.
Yeah, I mean, this to me is, it's fine to not, can't dismiss anything. You can't say that because Netanyahu offered the $150 million, TPUSA turned it down. Charlie Kirk said, no, I don't want to shill Israel harder, and I don't want to shill it anymore. He was coming out speaking more about Israel and the facts of what he saw and what was going on in Gaza and all of the militant state that they have going on in Israel. He was speaking out after a long time. So now that we saw him speaking out, he started to even banter a little bit on his on his YouTube page. And when I saw him starting to kind of open up the Epstein files and say that he's an agent, it looked like he enjoyed it, almost like he had been wanting to do that, wanting to come out and fuel his audience with that conspiracy because he knows they wanted it. And he said he wasn't going to talk about it anymore. And what did he do? He just dove full head first in. And I think that was really a big part of what could be that part of the conspiracy. And you can't counteract it. You can't say that it's not true.
I saw some of these things. It seemed to be coordinated, and every account I tapped on, it was all communists, all ACP, hammer and sickle and bind.
Not to mention, though, the left thing, it feels manufactured. I don't know how else to put it. I could just be a conspiracy nut, but the whole Discord thing, the whole father-son thing, the whole gun, also the guy showing the image with the muzzle flash from, I'll put the link in the below. I'll put the link below. He shows an image, a video where he is a sniper analyzing the shot, showing where it comes from the back left of Charlie, and you can see what could be a muzzle flash allegedly in a window that is on the side of the actual building where Charlie was speaking, instead of where the shot was a decoy. That person on top was apparently a decoy. And it's also strange they never found the bullet. And also shout out to the body language guy for really throwing up constant updates about what's going on and showing us what's going on. I appreciate that a lot.
They're all subscribed to this communist group. That's just what they are. I normally don't like to talk about communists. I think that's retarded, but that's what they are. They call themselves MAGA communists, the American Communist Party. That's what they call themselves. So anyway, I think the Israel thing is totally falling apart. And the reason it's falling apart is because Charlie Kirk was pro-Israel. You know it. I know it. We all know it. It's been a week. We can be a little bit more candid now. Charlie Kirk was pro-Israel until the day that he died.
No, he wasn't.
And for all these people that want to pull up the private text messages and conversations, I understand that Charlie Kirk...
It wasn't just private. It was on his live stream.
...didn't want America to fight a ground war in Iran. That doesn't mean he wasn't pro-Israel. I'll give you one example, then we'll get into the newest stuff. The day before he died, Israel bombed Qatar. Huge. That's a huge deal. It's unprecedented. Israel bombed yet another country. Added it to the list. They've bombed Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Yemen, Iran, Tunisia, or the territorial waters of Tunisia. They bombed, there was an infographic out recently. They bombed like a dozen countries. They bombed another one. They bombed Qatar. Do you know who Charlie Kirk brought on to discuss this? Ben Shapiro. And people said, well, but he asked Ben Shapiro these tough questions. Okay, but if you're bringing on Ben Shapiro as the expert on the Middle East, what does that tell you? If I brought on some Chinese national to talk about the war in China, what am I doing? If I brought on some Russian national to talk about the war in Russia, what am I doing? Josh Hammer, a mouthpiece for the Israeli government. He works at Newsweek, used to work for Shapiro. Josh Hammer said in a podcast that he talked to Charlie the week he died, and they went over talking points for how to defend Israel on the campus tour. Charlie's rabbi said the morning of the day he was killed, they talked about strategies to defend Israel. So time to wake up, guys. Some of this, I'll be the first one to say, the conspiratard schizo thing, it's getting a little out of control. And that's coming from me.
You know, then he comes with the mockery, right? Which, that's his thing. That's his shtick. That's kind of why a lot of us love him, right? But schizo conspiracy not. Because saying even if Shapiro died next, which he'll come to say, people would blame Israel is just mockery. And it really shows that I understand the perspective. Yes, if you're bringing on Ben Shapiro as an expert on what's going on in the war in Israel and the Middle East, it could be very likely that it's a propaganda setup for Israel to look better than it should. However, Ben Shapiro drives clicks. And also, Charlie Kirk has been changing his stance publicly and pressed Israel and pressed Shapiro on that subject. So it's not like he was running and hiding from anything. He was definitely actually trying to change, and he probably didn't know the best way to go about it. And if anything, if the conspiracy is real, he probably just declined the money. They knew how powerful he was. And if he was serious about changing his stance, they know how serious $150 million declining is. And that's serious enough to be killed over. I can guarantee you that.
I mean, it's like we are truly through the looking glass. When Charlie Kirk is assassinated, people blame Israel. I, who fought Charlie Kirk because he was pro-Israel, am being said to, I'm being said to be covering up that he was killed for this miraculous conversion. If Ben Shapiro was taken out next, and God forbid, would Israel be behind that too? I mean, that would be equally ridiculous. If it was Ben Shapiro on Wednesday, people would be saying...
It wouldn't be equally, because Ben Shapiro takes money from Israel. They take tons of money. How do you think he has this setup of the Daily Wire and all this whole orchestra of a business of him just talking, this talking head? Sure, he's got a good mouthpiece on him, but come on, let's think about the objective here. He's a campus guy, just like Kirk. He's a pro-Israel guy wearing the yarmulke, unlike Kirk. So they're going to want to put Shapiro on Kirk to try to drive more of that agenda, because Kirk wasn't doing it for them.
Israel did it. Shapiro was about to become a national socialist. Like, what? It's crazy. Anyway, so that just needs to be said. Like, people talk about, and we talked about it last night. Did Netanyahu give Charlie Kirk $150 million or offer it up? I've heard that claimed. I don't know if that's the dollar amount. I've had friends of mine tell me that, yes, Charlie refused an infusion of cash. I have not heard any receipts that it was $150 million, although that's what's being claimed. And if there is any evidence, I would implore Candace Owens to produce it. Candace Owens, Max Blumenthal, you are insinuating that Israel had a hand in Charlie Kirk's murder. That's what you're doing. If you have evidence, you must produce it.
I agree with that.
I saw Candace on her show today. She said, if you keep pushing me, then I will name more names. No, it doesn't work like that. You don't get to insinuate that a foreign government killed a high-profile American citizen and then say, I'm going to release the evidence under these conditions. Nah, you need to release the evidence now.
I agree with that.
She says that she has a copy of the letter that Charlie Kirk sent to Netanyahu. You need to produce that letter. Sorry.
Yeah.
You can't drag it out on your show for clicks. Oh, more receipts tomorrow, more receipts behind the paywall, more receipts any day. No, sorry, you got it. Put up or shut up now. It's getting... Charlie Kirk's own pastor, Turning Point USA, is saying it's getting to be offensive almost. So, for someone that wants to get to the bottom of everything and overturn every rock and produce all the receipts, she's not being very forthcoming. Stop with the games. Show us the evidence you have, or stop. Stop insinuating.
But this is the thing, is once you put Candace Owens on blast demanding evidence, first of all, that openly shields Israel by making proof the only bar. And we can't even prove if this guy that's saying he even said that he killed, we can't even prove that that's the case. So how are you going to prove that without some type of actual documentation? We don't know that. We might have Charlie texting her at best, but you're going to have a document that Netanyahu signed himself saying, here's a check with $150 million if you just shill Israel? No. So you got to look at things objectively here. We can't let people's opinions on things because they're jaded or scared or have a different opinion on what we think or what we might think could be the truth. The truth will only set us free, and we must always die for it. If you want to join us in the live streams and you made it this far, like, subscribe, and make sure you hit that notification bell because I don't go live every night. However, I try to go live as often as I can, and when I do, you'll get that notification bell so you can join me in the community of Danksters while we watch Nick Fuentes live whenever we get an opportunity. So I hope to see you in the next one. Let me know in the comments down below, do you think Nick Fuentes has changed his tune on Israel?
They call me Danks on Lock. Yeah.